it turns out I'm going to have a lot to say about narcissism, but I'm going to I'm going to start in a little different direction today. But first, let me say that I am going to step both feet into the conversation about narcissistic abuse, what to look for, what the red flags are, how to deal with it, all of that. At this point, I would call myself an expert. But to the point that I'm recognizing something that I think I have said a couple of times and have heard it understood in a way that I feel like I can say it. And like my dad always said, if I know I'm going to step in it, just know I can back it up. Because if anybody watches this, I'm sure I'm stepping all into it as soon as I start this. But we are looking at an entire country, an entire web of systems that are rooted in narcissism. And the the tropes that are now seen as truths are like so embedded, and they really need to be flipped on their heads. We need to see this for what it is. And so I'm going to go deep into a lot of that, but when I say that this country was founded purely on narcissism, and we had our chances to do better, and I think really I'm old enough to have been, at that point where we were doing better, trying harder, seeing things in a little better way. And just knowing the few things about in history, in just the places that I've been around me that at large we don't know about, that are so important. You just, wow. And just the very idea that some of us actually believe that we are in danger of being replaced. If that's not narcissism, I don't know what else to call it. Excuse me. As I choke on the thought. I just have this thing about coughing when I laugh. It'll pass. That's narcissism. But okay, let's talk about how this affects people on a systemic level. Because what happened is this morning I remembered this guy was okay. I am an insomniac, and for years I've had a love-hate relationship with Morning Joe, because it's one of the things you can always find like really early in the morning, sometimes where I am at 3 a.m. I would much prefer to find Adam Ruins Everything. Sometimes you can't. There I am. But the one I had to have been 2016 or 17. And they had some guy on there who was a columnist, I think a conservative columnist, a white guy, who said, if you're not afraid, you're not paying attention. And he was right. Also, my first thought is, you are saying that because you just got afraid because you just had to start paying attention. It just came to your door somehow. And right there, I'm just like throwing at the idea that, here, it is just, so many people have been paying attention and afraid for decades. So now you're just now getting here, and you're using that platform to talk about all the trouble that Trump is causing. Good God, that's some like super extra gaslighting. But yeah, so when I thought about that, I just thought about how but it's a lot of like who gets the bigger voice, the bigger flat platform to say the thing, and then once a thing is said, it just becomes true. There's a lot of groupthink going on, and that's getting worse. So one thing I want to bust up right now, and I'll start to break it down. I don't want to be too long, and I do want to be as concise as I can. Anyone who is talking about people who need support from our government systems, our government programs, abusing that, has it wrong, and I'm going to break that down. It's the providers, it's the bigger, what are now corporations and industries, mental health, medical, pharmacy. They are the ones abusing Medicare, Medicaid, every bit of the money that they can. They are doing that, and I will break that down in a very factual way so that you can see it as easily as I can, because I've been on both sides of it. And I've been a caseworker in like a 30-day clinical setting. I was a caseworker with inpatient and outpatient clients. And this is a good 10 years ago, and I saw how this was beginning, this stacking up of billable units, and treating this like what I've got a corporate experience, and so what I know to be a repeat revenue profit model. It's very effective. And then when you've got the added benefit of just shutting people off from the services they need if they don't obey and like do that repeat thing. Again, I will break this all down, but I've also been a client, and I'm disabled and on Medicare, so I have had to sort through all of those statements and see how much is going, also knowing the system of how they're collecting. So that's what I'm going to start with, because there is when I left, it was really because this is a system of such heavy like penning people in, and I saw how that happens. They just narrow your choices down to really none unless you depend on them. So how that works is, when your general practice doctor says they can only see you for 15 minutes. Now they're scheduling. That's been happening for a long time, that 15-minute thing. 15 minutes is one billable unit. So what they're doing is stacking as many patients in, and then I think they get extra still for, like, if you're a new patient, but it's still 15 minutes. And then that's why now the one issue per visit that a lot of people are getting. No, we can only deal with one. You're like, I haven't seen a doctor in a year, and I've got all this. I'm getting older and shit, and I was already disabled. And they're like, nope, one thing at a time. And it's probably going to be the easiest thing for us, and not the thing you need the most. I know I sound cynical, but I've been all through this. I've advocated for other people through systems. I have seen people literally, really misinformed in a way that would totally have changed their future. I've seen how women get treated when they have to inform themselves because information is being kept from them. Not just women, but that is an environment that I've been in a lot, and then especially women. Just gonna say that. But it goes down to these. Okay, first of all, so your doctor says, and this now in your mental health system, this is where it gets heavy. I'm going to see you for 15 minutes, but now they say we're depending on your insurance, we will see you for 45 to an hour. And what that means is, because if you're on Medicare or Medicaid, I think your limit is 45. That's all they can get. The other insurances, and they may be changing that with Medicare, because now Medicare, Biden is really wrapping up that, privatizing it with your, it's private insurance. So start counting when you go. If you're on Medicare and you've got a facility, I'm going to go into that later, a facility that's doing that's wrapping you up. If you're over 65 or disabled, wrapping you up, and you have one person who's just there for 15 minutes to tell you how wonderfully they're going to take care of you and encourage you and reassure you, start counting those as billable units and see what you get to. I just had a first visit and I counted at least 8. Each person in the room, for every 15 minutes they're there, that's a billable unit. To Medicare and Medicaid. And that's why I say they are the frontline abusers of that. Just start thinking critically and looking at it in that way. The one that I just experienced, when I looked, it gets deeper than that, because he is then abusing something else, which is, it just gets more and more and more complex. But at the end of the day, I found what looks to be a PR piece, but the headline is the second highest paid CEO in the world, next to Elon Musk. It's about the CEO of this healthcare company. And then the rest of it really looks like hey, he came up with this great idea to take care of everyone with Medicare and wrap them up with all the services and even give them transportation to and from, and, it sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Start counting that in terms of 15 minutes a piece, what you're getting versus how much Medicare is paying. For you to do that, you're not abusing that. They are just, because what I literally got told, just because I've got nerve damage in my foot and I needed some extra adjustment, and yes, I've been through some trauma. Oh, they want a lot of extra from that. But they always give you the line, okay, now of course, if we don't see you within 3 months, you will no longer have service from us. Yeah, repeat revenue. And more often, if we think we need to. If we think you need to. They don't, all they need to do is refer me to a neurologist and a couple of other specialists that they, we covered the rest. They want me back. Now, this is current. This is like current thing they want me back for 2 more appointments. One just for blood work, so that'll probably be several billable units there, and then another one to see again this doctor who really all she needed to do was give me the referrals, send me so I'm going to end this by saying I'm just going to go way back to 1987 when my father died and I was 21 years old, and yes, I was of that privileged position where my father's company provided me with a therapist, all of us, separately. I didn't have to go with the whole family, thank God. But I went to a therapist. I was wrecked. I did not at the time know that my mother was, what she was doing to me, that she was abusing me. I really, literally, later on in life, was fortunate enough to have a very good therapist who went there and said, yeah, this is where you're at. Again, with that, there was a lot of bad, around that too, but bad mental health shit. But this, in 1987, this therapist never mentioned antidepressants or any kind of pill at all. We just did therapy. We did the work. She made me confront it. I got back to my life. I did my job, as a person who went through something traumatic. Never were there all these pills, first this and then the work. That's backwards. So they did that right in 1987, and then sometime in the 90s that started to change, and by the time I was working within that, and also a patient, client, whatever, customer at that point, and having been in a corporate world where, yes, I made money on repeat revenue, but legit, the people knew what they were buying to. Repeat revenue, that's how I know. I looked at this and went, later on, I'll get into how non-profits get away with doing that, because they do. But just start looking at everything that you need to do and every way that it takes your time out of the rest of your life. How much of that are people just pulling billable units from your Medicare, Medicaid? Usually those two. The rest of the insurance, they're just the fuck out of you. Don't know if you can do that here. Whatever. So, so yeah, narcissism on that one-on-one level, narcissism on a systemic level, on a sociological, like bigger picture level, it's all very, very dangerous, especially right now. So, sorry for the bad news. I'm not really a negative person. I don't like. I just really want to find a way to get more people to look at this realistically, or else it's never going to change. So, I don't know. Anybody ever listens? Peace.